against Sunderland. We're going to be joined by a fan in a moment, but Leanne Sanderson with Maresca there and Chelsea. Why are they so inconsistent this season?
You enjoyed that one at the weekend, didn't you?
I very much did enjoy it.
I thought you were going to read it out again just because...
I was there. Well, I've asked to show the goal a few times, and I think we will.
I mean, this Chelsea conundrum intrigues me because I've said it many, many times. I think there's always so much focus on teams like Manchester United that I feel like Chelsea kind of never really get spoken about. The amount of money they've spent. They still have gone into the season. People were talking about Onana at Man United. Sanchez is not good enough. They've gone into the season with a goalkeeper that is not good enough. It's hard to see if Maresca is the right person. Now, I'm not a big believer in getting rid of managers, but, you know, 2-3 years in now, it's like, where are they going to go? You know, they got rid of Pochettino. He brought in players. Then when Frank Lampard was there, they had the transfer ban, didn't they? And he had to bring in the young players. So it's hard to just see where Chelsea are going. Like, what is their identity? When Maresca was at Leicester, the type of style we played, it wasn't easy on the eye. So initially, and he's not going to change his style, was he that right person in the first place? So, you know, you look at the Champions League, they're in 11th place of 18 teams. Like, it's just hard to see where this Chelsea side are really going. But then at the same time, they're world champions. Yeah. So, you know, not too long ago, they're beating PSG. So there's always a little bit of balance, I think, needs to be had between this conversation, because obviously losing to Sunderland at home, people are going to feel like it's a devastation. They bring in Esteval, who I really like, but he was on the bench at the weekend. Garnacho starts the game. You know, he scores, but is he really that signing that they really wanted? So it's just all a bit all over the place. When Chelsea bring in signings, I don't really see a clear plan for the identity of, are they just bringing in signings because they can? Or are they bringing in signings that's going to help the team? You know, even the amount of players that go out on loan for Chelsea, there's just not really, there hasn't been a clear plan for them for a long time.
Well, Maresca has faced the media this morning. We can hear from him now.
You need consistency if, you know, you wanna have a good season. After 4 wins in a row, unfortunately we draw points against Sunderland, but now we move on and we focus about tomorrow game.
And not only consistency, if you can manage a win tomorrow night, you're back on, you know, start hopefully a winning run, but also going deeper into the competition, 3 games away from a final. The deeper you get into a competition, do you get more hungry to go all the way?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. As you said, it's 3 games from, you know, from the final, so we need to have the desire to play for that. As we said many times, we need to go game by game. Now the first one is Wolves tomorrow. We need to be focused on them, and then hopefully winning the game, we can think about the next one.
There's been some criticism of your comments on Friday about not being a fan of the long throw. Usual places, social media, phone-in shows, fans saying, well, you should use every weapon at your disposal. Now that Liam's back in the reckoning, have you actually checked out his DNA to see if he's also a king of throw-ins?
No, I said many times that as a human being you can say something, but then you have million person that they can interpret it in different way. And what I can control is what I say. What I cannot control is the mind of people, how they can interpret it. I said that in this moment we are not looking for long throwing, but because I'm a manager that I love to evolve, probably one day I will use that. These are my words. Now if people interpret it in the wrong way, I cannot control. I'm not here to control what the people think. So I didn't ask Liam about long throwing, but again, not tomorrow. Probably one day we're gonna ask Liam.
Liam Delap, son of Rory, long throws. It was bound to be asked at some stage, wasn't it? It was Gary Cottrell today. Right, well, at the view of the fans, Sky Sports have partnered with Finalysis, an app where passionate fans share their opinions on their club. If you want to represent your club, scan the QR code or visit the Sky Sports app for more details. Chelsea supporter Charlie Patrick joins us now. Charlie, in your last 9 games, 5 wins, 4 defeats. Are the fans getting restless about this inconsistency?
Yeah, it is really frustrating because every time you feel like you're sort of turning a corner, every time you feel like you're taking a couple steps forward, you then inevitably take a few more back. We lost those games to United and Brighton back to back. There was a lot of pressure on Maresca at that point. We then won 4 games on the row. And then you look at the fixtures that were coming up and you're thinking, yeah, okay, there's a chance to, put a run of results together. And then we turn in a performance like we did at the weekend, which wasn't acceptable in a game that Chelsea have to be winning. And so the inconsistencies are been there for years. This has been a problem for a long, long time. Chelsea have been a cup team for so many years now, really since we last won the Premier League under Antonio Conte. So this consistency is not a new issue. This has been one that's plagued us for a long time. And I think you can look at recruitment as part of the reason why, because when you buy so many young, unproven players at the top level, that's going to lend itself to the inconsistencies that we have. But you have to look at it and you think, well, how many times can we keep going? Oh, Chelsea might be good in 2 or 3 years' time. We might be good. What happens when these players are in their mid-20s? That's all well and good, but what about what happens right now? What are we doing right now to win the big trophies? What are we doing right now to take steps forward and close the gap on your Arsenals, your Man Cities and your Liverpools? And right now, that is a big head scratcher. So there's an immense frustration with the fans, in terms of what's going on right now with a lack of consistency and just not really sure where we're going. We missed a big opportunity in the summer. You win the Club World Cup, you make a big statement, and then you go and have a transfer window like we did, where you don't sign the required quality, you don't address the positions you need to, and you're sort of thinking, well, where are we going right now as a club?
I can't work out whether you are pro Maresca or anti Maresca.
No, I'm a big fan of Maresca. I think he's done a brilliant job, considering he had 1 year at Leicester City to then come into the Chelsea hot seat, which is a really difficult job, particularly under this ownership with the way that we recruit and whatnot, managing so many young players. That needs a lot of attention to detail. I thought he did a brilliant job last season in terms of getting us back in the Champions League and obviously winning the 2 trophies that we did. He's learning. He's making mistakes. This is a manager who is in his 3rd season as a top flight coach, and he's learning on the big stage as well, like a lot of the players are. So when you factor those things together, that's not an ideal recipe for getting some sustained level of success. But I think he's done well. He's making mistakes. He's got to do better in certain instances, definitely with those red cards we had in games. He didn't manage those situations well. He subsequently admitted that. So we've got to hope that he learns from his mistakes, because, again, he made a mistake at the weekend taking Josh Achimpong off for Tosin, which led to the winning goal ultimately. So, yeah, I like him, but there's only so much I feel he can do with the tools that he's got at his disposal.
But Charlie, I agree with what you're saying, and Maresca even said about the inconsistency of the team. But it's like Chelsea are such a big football club. Historically, you win things. How have they got a manager, in other words, that's learning on the job? You're saying he's making mistakes. This is Chelsea. We all say, this is Man United, but this is Chelsea. Do you know what I mean? You have to have a manager that can make decisions. That's what makes top managers top managers. They make in-game decisions that can affect the game. Sometimes it goes for you, sometimes it goes against you. But the Chelsea really deserve to have a manager that's learning on the job, so to speak.
No, it's an entirely fair point. It's not something we're used to at Chelsea. Obviously, under Roman, we would just employ the best manager, and if they weren't doing the job, they'd be sacked, and the next best option would come in. This ownership are clearly going down a totally different route. They want a younger manager. They want to go through, and the fans hate hearing this, they want to go through a process. They want a long-term project. They're offering managers 5-year contracts. When you're doing things like that, you have to stick with it and back that person. And so I have a little bit of sympathy with the manager on this, because he wasn't backed in the summer, not in terms of money spent, but in terms of what was required to give him the tools to move to the next level. But Chelsea should be having the best manager out there they can possibly get to win this club major trophies. And when you looked at the shortlist in the summer, when it was Thomas Frank, it was Kieran McKenna, and it was Maresca when we appointed him after Pochettino, that's not really a standard of shortlist that you would expect at Chelsea. So I totally get that point, but whether we like it or not as fans, that's the direction that this ownership's going down now. They want the next sort of Arteta. They want the next kind of Pep, someone that's,
But it sounds like you're not happy with that direction. If that was an underwhelming shortlist, who should have been on that shortlist, and what kind of manager do you want now?
I mean, look, we should have, at that time, they spoke with Luis Enrique, and they didn't go for that. That would have been the calibre of manager that Chelsea should be appointing. I mean, I'm not thinking about replacing the manager whatsoever, because I'm fully aware that with the way that we operate and the way that we recruit, that whatever the manager comes in, there is a certain ceiling to what can be achieved at Chelsea with the way that we sign players and the way that we recruit and the way the squad's put together. So for me, until that changes, it's almost irrelevant who's actually in the dugout. But Maresca has shown last season he can get results to this team. He's shown he can win trophies, and he definitely deserves another crack at obviously at managing Chelsea and remaining in the job. Yeah, and just to end on a positive, I mean, Estevao seems to have really got everybody sitting up and taking notice of him. Yeah, he's been outstanding. You know, he's one of the young players that has come in and has hit the ground running. He had a big reputation when he was at Palmeiras in Brazil. And this is someone who's renowned as one of the best teenagers in world football, along with Lamine Yamal. And he's been an instant impact. I didn't think he was going to have the impact that he's had so quickly. But again, it goes back to recruitment. We're in a situation now where we're relying on an 18-year-old. He's been in England for all of 5 minutes to try and win Chelsea games, to change games for us when we're struggling. And that really shouldn't be the case. Should he be starting more? Yes, he should be, because we need him, because we need to be winning games. We need that quality. He's one of those few players that, you know, gets fans on the edge of the seats when he's on the ball. He's direct. He looks to always make things happen. But you know, we're not in a position, you know, to be starting an 18-year-old week in, week out every single game. He's going to be managed. The whole squad's going to be managed. But it's a bit of a damning indictment on the other wide players that we've got, that we're desperate for an 18-year-old kid who's got immense ability to be starting every week for us.
But the thing is, though, they've only got themselves to blame. How you can come into the season without, you know, I know João Pedro's a decent player, but a number 9 and a really good goalkeeper. I mean, a lot of clubs would love to have Chelsea's checkbook. So I'm not having the excuses of, you know, not being able to recruit this player, that player. They spent over $1 billion. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think they've said centre-back as well in the past. A lot of fans have said centre-back as well.
But how can they be in this position with all the money they spent?
Yeah, I know. It's not even about, yeah, exactly. Look, fans aren't moaning about money being spent. The board put their hands in their pockets and they spend money, but it's just been a really poor allocation of funds to not look at the situation at centre-back and think, well, we've lost Levi Colwell. We had a month after we lost Levi Colwell to go and address the centre-back situation. Maresca publicly stated on multiple occasions, I need a new centre-back. They didn't give him one. Lo and behold, start of the season, we've had major issues at centre-back. We could have signed Mike Maignan in goal. The same thing. They didn't want to pay the extra money. We've had problems in goal at the start of the season with Robert Sanchez. So ultimately, you have to look at upstairs and you have to look at the sporting directors and the way that we recruit. You've got to lay blame there. There's an opportunity to get players that would have made a difference. Donnarumma's, Maignan's, Mark Gurhey's. You could have signed a Victor Osimhen, you know, but you choose not to do that. And so that's part of the reason why we're in the mess that we're in. And just a very, very quick one to finish, actually, Charlie. Style of play, are you happy with it? It's tricky because when you're not winning football matches, it's dull and it is really quite uninspiring to watch. It's one of those that when you're winning, you put up with it. Would I like to see more expansive football? Absolutely. Would I like to see us be more pleasing on the eye? Of course I would. But ultimately, it is a results-based business. If we can do both, great. But Maresca needs to
What is more pleasing on the eye to you and to the Chelsea fans? What's more pleasing on the eye?
That shirt behind him.
He would help it.
Yeah, I mean, a bit of that potentially. I think just having a bit more of a go. You know, this constant, you know, playing out from the backs, aimless sideways possession, not getting the ball forward quickly enough. A bit more intensity in the player, injecting a bit more, you know, intensity into it as well, and attacking players who actually go. I've got no problem, by the way, with players being direct, trying to take their man on. If they lose the ball, fine, they lose the ball. But at least the intent's there to do it. I'm sick of seeing wide players getting the ball, do a couple step overs, turn round, pass it back. You know, there needs to be more intensity. There needs to be just a bit more desire to try and make things happen right now. And not enough players are doing that.
Chelsea's recent run of inconsistent performances has sparked major debate across the football world, with Sky Sports pundits questioning whether Enzo Maresca is still the right man to lead the Blues. Despite flashes of brilliance earlier in the season, Chelsea's struggle to maintain momentum has left fans frustrated and analysts concerned about the team's overall direction. According to reports, tension is beginning to grow within Stamford Bridge, as supporters demand answers for the club's lack of stability and poor results against mid-table teams. While Maresca insists he is building for the long term, critics argue that Chelsea's current performances fall short of the expectations set by the board and fans alike. Sky Sports pundits believe the coming fixtures will be crucial for Maresca's future, emphasizing that the next few matches could determine whether he remains in charge or faces an early dismissal. The pressure is mounting, and all eyes are now on how Chelsea will respond on the pitch to silence growing doubts around their manager.